Welcome everyone. We're back. AusCycling Club Series Round 3. Matt Keenan, I'm here with you today. How are you feeling? You're back. Missed you last week, but we've got a course for, well, I'd say the not sprinters today. What do you reckon?
It is a fantastic course. You and I have been talking offline before getting into it about how good this course is and the fact that it is one of our favourites. And Anna, our producer, she battles against her 72-year-old father on a Saturday on this very course. So we know that she's invested in this one. I did miss last week, but in the first week, one of the big takeouts for me, Jethro, was the banter, or was it banter, or was it sledging? There's a lot of people able to make comments to their rivals when their heart rate is 180 beats per minute. It blows my mind.
Yeah, I know. Certainly was putting the skills of the Bluetooth keyboard, on show. There was a little bit of chat from the competitors during the race, which was very funny. And you know what? Sometimes out there in the races, Matt, you do throw a few barbs out there just to keep it interesting. But hey, what we're going to do now is we're going to check out the course. We're going to run everyone through the Legends in Lava course, which is an absolute ripper. 24.5 kilometers long, 320 meters elevation. But this one is kind of a story of two halves, okay? So, Matt, we're starting with a little bit of a rise, about 4Ks to go. They're hitting the Titans Grove reverse climb. It's a bit of a power climb. It's 900 meters, about 4%. And then it's very much downhill for the next 6 or 7 kilometers. So we should see anyone that's able to get over the top of that rise in Titans Grove should make it on the downhill following that. And then, there's a few little pinch points, as you know, 300 meters elevation that follow the Titans Grove climb. But really, we're waiting to 20 Ks to go when they hit the Volcano KOM. And Matt, finally, we've got something for, I guess, the climbers, the punchers, who have battled through the last two sprinted course with this KOM finish.
Yeah, and it's going to be a question of timing as well. You know the climb really well. It's quite a quick climb, so there's great benefit of sitting the draft. The climb that comes earlier on that you referred to, if it was week 1 or week 2, that might have been the launching pad for somebody to try and get away from the sprinters. But this is going to suit somebody who can climb good 20-minute power and really good 15-second power. And I'm fascinated to see who takes it out. We've seen Jessica Brimbrose really consistent in the women's racing. And across in the men, Cole Marwood with a first and second. Nick Squilari with a third and a first. It's pretty tight at the top of the table there too.
Yeah, it certainly is. And you're right, it's going to be timing. The last 200 metres of that course is when it gets really steep. So I think the draftability of the Volcano KOM, the first sort of 3/4 of it, who sort of bides their time, who holds back their winning move and times it right. And so,
Let's get down to the racing. They're not far away from getting started, Jethro. Sorry, I've stolen your thunder. But this is the moment where when I've been in events on Zwift, that couple of moments before it gets started and the wheels are turning, you're doing 300 watts before the flag drops. It is pretty quick. Stuart Grimsey we're on board with at the moment, and he's a guy who I know pretty well has got plenty of horsepower. But the fact that he's riding at 160 beats per minute, Jethro, he is cruising.
yeah, that's certainly not redlining by any stretch of the imagination. And I like the team name he's got in there, Berries, because, hopefully we're going to see a few of those on course today when they hit the climbs, because there's going to be some fruit dished out. But as you can see, top of the sort of leaderboard there, we've got 100 competitors in the A-grade men today, which is very, very good. And in the women's as well, we've seen an increase in their field numbers. But we're getting an idea, Matt, of just what this course is offering up. So what you're seeing on screen, everyone, look at the rolling terrain already, up and down, which means you're going to have to be really in tune with your gear selection, constantly going up and down the block, and then also your positioning in the peloton, because we know your momentum as you're going downhill on the game and then back up to the climbs is really important, isn't it, Matt?
Oh, it is, but I did like that little post that was popped up just a moment ago by Stu Grimsey. He said, 180 beats, doing it easy. Come on, Mr. Grimsey. You're 162 according to what we can see, but he's punching out more than 6 watts per kilo. So, okay, I'll cut you a little bit of slack. That's not doing it easy, but I'm in the comfortable seats. You're the one who is pushing, and this is a really quick start. These rolling hills, these will be causing anybody who's got slightly juicy legs a few problems.
Yeah, definitely. You would have want to keep your legs spinning over and a real prominent warm up. You can see a lot of riders in there. Jeffrey Creel, another WA rider. Everyone's sort of pushing around that 5 watts per kilo mark. And these pinch points here, you can see 8-7%. This is a real
Mm.
kicker. And you can see riders just drifting back now. And it doesn't take much, Matt, a little kicker like this, and you start to see that peloton that's real bunched up, and it starts to, well, just draw out a bit and lengthen. And well, look at it now. It's everyone just sort of wants to be sniffing around the front. Michael Gallagher up the front as well. We'd seen him. It's well, yeah, it's fascinating.
They're on board with Jay Hunt at the moment as well, and we're just watching where they're sitting within the group. It was interesting seeing Stu Grimsey. He got himself at the base of one of the climbs up to 12th position, and then drifted back to about 45th or 50th by the time he reached the top of that little climb. That can be smart riding on one climb, but when there's the repetition of climbs like this one, the yo-yoing can be really quite
Yeah.
difficult. And one of the things I always find fascinating, I don't know about you, Jethro, but at the end of a race on Zwift, seeing that the person who wins it very rarely has the highest watts per kilo average for the race. So using those watts at the right time is crucial.
Yeah, it really is. I was in a race a couple of weeks ago actually for the Zwift Racing League, and it was a very similar climb to this actually, a very similar course where there was a climb at the end, but the most of the course was actually rolling, but it was someone who did, well, the least by about zero point 0.6 watts per kilo, and they just timed their sprint perfectly that got the victory. And we talk about timing not only in the finish, but as we can see through this rolling section through the Titans Grove area, you almost have to time your stomp on the pedals when you're going downhill and an uphill is coming next. So when you roll from a -3 back up to a 6 and a 7, like we're seeing right now, you almost need to get a little bit of a surge in the pedals just before you hit that rise to try and slingshot you up the bunch. And if you get that timing
Spot on.
wrong, yeah, all of a sudden you're out the back like, well, old mate in the purple Tron bike. We can't see who that is. It might be Jay Haggerty, but it's certainly it puts you, yeah, in difficulty. And as you can see now, Matt on the left, we've hit the climb, 900 meters, about 4%. What do you reckon? What's going to happen?
Yeah, I think there'll just be a few victims at the back, but we'll get over the top of this climb with most of the group still in contact. 100 or so riders in this field, and you can see already it's getting a little spread out towards the back, but really tight bunching up towards the front of the group. They're keeping themselves super compact. And the winner of this race, Jethro, I don't think we're going to see them at the front until around about maybe even a kilometre to go, perhaps even less than that.
Yeah, I think so. I think with the finish tonight, and I have watched quite a few races with this course, and the finish, often you don't see the winner until the very end. And in fact, I think we might see someone who look like they may steal the victory, but someone's going to come over the top with a late move. And we'll talk about some of those contenders, but in a minute. But let's swap over to the women's race. We're on board. Catherine Mackay with the women's, and a nice little group here. We've got 22 competitors. So again, for the third week in a row, it is now grown in numbers, which is really good and adds to the dynamic of the bunch racing. Much different to 7 or 8 competitors like the first week, Matt.
Yeah, I like the growth. Anything that is heading in that direction is a good thing, whether it's your superannuation, your share portfolio, or the size of the bunch in a Zwift race. We want the numbers to be going up. And how do I get my numbers to go up with watts per kilo? I'm still struggling to find that in 2022. But this group in the women's race, it's been Jessica Bemrose, she's dominated the racing so far, Jethro.
Yeah, she really has, and she's used her top end speed and her sprint to her advantage. But actually, I think Jessica's really got the timing down with how to finish a bike race on Zwift. She has just nailed the timing of her sprint, and we saw last week she almost did a double sprint, Mark Cavendish's 2009 style, where you have a bit of a double kick. That's what she implemented, and I wonder if she'll use her timing to perfection this week. But it's different, Matt. This climb is going to cause problems, and I have pigeonholed, Catherine Alley as my favourite today, who hopefully is still in this race because she was my favourite.
Well, there's a few problems at the front already. We can see the Swede who is at the front. This is Gabriella Norden, and she has some really big numbers. 4.8 watts per kilo for 20 minutes, 8 watts per kilo for a 15-second power. So she really will like the climb. She'll need to make the most of that final climb. There's Ellie that you can see there somewhere in the middle, riding for the Randwick squad. But even though Norden doesn't collect the points for the AusCycling Esports series for the team classification, which at the moment has been dominated by the Waratah Masters, I like to see that we've got riders from Sweden, Germany, some from China and Japan as well, all participating in this great event.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really it just shows the beauty of the game. And as you can see, a lot of these, well, almost all of the women in this race, they're experienced Zwifters, Matt. They're all riding the Tron bike, and a lot of different colours going on there, S5s there as well. So everyone here is really operating plus 25 levels for sure. But again, yeah, so they're all very experienced, and you can see it in the men's as well. We've got a swap to plenty of neon there. It's almost like we're in Neokio, but we're not. Of course, we're in Titans Grove, heading towards the volcano, which, as a world itself, is just awesome. And have a look, Matt. There's already riders out the back. You can see there has been a slight split.
And I like this from Jono Cridlin. Chat was quiet last week without me. So Jono's keen to provide a little bit of lip service to everybody else in the race. Jono, keep on feeding us. We quite like seeing the conversation. How are you going at the moment, Jono? If you are listening, we want some sort of an update from how you're feeling. I heard you won't. Oh, it's going too quickly now. Now everybody's chiming in. Everybody's having a little bit of chatter. A little bit of good luck. See you off the back. Good luck off the back. That is harsh.
Yep. Kick them when they're down. Kick them when they're down. Love that. You really got to back that up. It's really, really cool. And you can see there's a Bemrose, another member of the Bemrose family, just sort of chiming off the front there. Like we've seen, is constantly, I guess this race is almost like a third week mountain stage. If it's not up, it's down. And we're going to see that in a few weeks' time with the Giro d'Italia. But we're here on Zwift, and everyone's just making sure the position is correct. Now, for everyone at home, who are we looking for to win this bike race? And I think in the first 2 rounds, sprinters course, those really favour the guys and the girls who had a top-end peak power sprint. But I think for today, it's going to be a mix, Matt, of a lighter rider who's still got a good punch. And I've identified in the men's Josh Harris, Kyo Mori, a Japanese rider, Jeffrey Hunt, and Jono Cridlin, who's been talking a bit of smack. They are the riders to watch, in my opinion, for this finish in the men's.
And what about Bosted, the Kiwi, who was second in the Anzac Day special, and he's got plenty of big numbers. The 20-minute power, the sprint is really good as well. I'm loving the chirp in a way that has been generated by Jono Cridlin. And just a moment ago, you were talking about Adam Bemrose, who has been pretty consistent. He was second the first week. He was fifth in the second week. So he's been getting some pretty good numbers supporting his club, which is Gold Coast Cycling Club. Incidentally, Waratah Masters, they are well ahead in the team classification, the club classification, on 903 points. It's in Bathurst on 596, so that's a massive gap. Vikings in third position on 492. In last place, St Kilda Cycling Club, Jethro. They're one of the biggest in the country, and they're being beaten by Knox BMX Club. I love that there's a BMX club participating in this.
I wonder if they've got their BMX bikes hooked up to Zwift. That would be something on the fixed gear. But yeah, I mean, I guess, Matt, could it be St Kilda? They've already got their kit in the game, which is, of course, what you get in the game for winning the AusCycling Club series. But speaking of jerseys, we've got an attack, and a very ambitious one on the downhill section. We've got, is it A. Evans now? A. Evans, I believe he won last week from memory. A really strong rider, and he's chosen the downhill section to try and surprise the bunch. This is it's a risky move, Matt.
This is a long way before hitting the base of the major climb up to the top of the volcano. So this is an energy spender with not a lot of gain, I don't think. But putting the rest of the group under a lot of pressure, and they are enormous numbers. He is going along at almost 5 watts per kilo. He was the first over the line last week, and he is strong, but the momentum of the group, they are closing him down.
Yeah,
And
so they're
gobbled
just
up.
shutting the door on him now. That's right, gobbled up on the bridge, and hopefully water under the bridge for the rest of the bunch, because now we can see a few other riders just moving their way up. And again, there's an art to it, Matt. You want to try and find that sweet spot in the bunch and try and use the least amount of watch possible to keep yourself up the front. And just look at the peloton dynamics. Zwift updated its peloton dynamics recently in the last 2 or 3 months, and it's certainly seen a lot more fluid movement of the avatars in the bunch as well, and more lifelike. And it really is quite mesmerising just watching these guys ride along. But you can see the
I
what's
think
the kilos
Jethro,
dropping.
next week, I'm not going to be available next week. I can't remember who you've got with you, but I think maybe John O'Cridland's going to need to join the commentary team. He's providing plenty of banter. He's just told somebody to remind Evans that there's no intermediate sprint this week. Jono, I think you've just told him. He'll be all across that now, and he's back in the group.
We need to get him mic'd up, I think. We need to get him mic'd up. And we're just going to switch over to the women's racing now. Again, it looks like the bunch is all together on board with Catherine Ellie, who, like I was touching on earlier in the women's, Catherine Ellie, Jessica Bemrose, and I think Gabriella Norden are the 3 favourites today. But Catherine Ellie in particular, she's got very good 20-minute power, one of the top 3 in this bunch. And she also operates with a pretty handy sprint. And, Matt, she happens to be the lightest of those top 4 or 5 riders. And I guess she's got all the tools there, but it comes down to the timing as they weave their way through, about to cross the bridge to the men. So they're not far behind. And so there's also
back,
a bit of chat.
Jethro. I just lost you for a moment.
Yeah,
it was just a little bit of an internet problem that I lost you with. But I agree with everything you said, particularly about Catherine Alley. And looking at her 20-minute power, she's just slightly below Gabriella Norden. But her 15-second power, Catherine Alley is at 11.5 watts per kilo by comparison to Norden at 8 watts per kilo. So if Alley can stick with Norden and the other climbers, she does have that kick at the finish.
Yep. And we've just got a massive acceleration from one of the most aggressive riders in the bunch. We're on board with Michael Gallagher. He's trying to close down a move here on the slight rise out of the underwater circuit. It's Evans. Sherwin. Evans has lit it up. He's gone again. We saw him on the downhill. And last week's winner, first over the line, has now crested over the top of that hard section. And he's now on the flat. Now it's a question of what kind of power can he hold on this flat section. And, Matt, will he get some friends who are trying to come across? It's all strung out over the wooden bridge.
It is super impressive. The horsepower from Evans is enormous. Sherwin chasing, so too is Gallagher. This has caused a really big reaction from the rest of the peloton. And everybody will be cursing the name of Evans because he is just super strong and he's going to make that final climb really hard. I'm just wondering, how many cookies is he spending before he gets to the volcano? Clearly, he has got the legs to be able to win this if he uses them correctly.
Yeah, absolutely, he does. And he's just trying to shake a few birds out of the tree as well by just using any rise and any opportunity where the road goes up to try and shake some of the fastest sprinters, because as we were talking about off air, Matt, earlier, this is a very draftable climb. So it only really kicks up after about 22 Ks to go, where the first half of it is about 2-3%, certainly in the realms of a nice draft. And we're getting a front group of 4 here, Matt.
It's a good group. This is a good group, and good to see Cadell Howie in the thick of the action once again. In the first week where I was with you, Jethro, he was really good, and he is fully committed to this move. He's riding for the Aero Royal Bikes team. His heart rate is close to 200. It got to 198. I was looking forward to seeing it tick over to start with a 2. They are enormous digits.
Yeah. Yeah, they are. And we've got 2 aero in this bunch as well. So I wonder, with a little split like this, do the other aero members in the group try and work their way to the front of that chasing peloton and just sort of back it off again, just try and slow that blob down. But Matt, another rider I noticed in the front group here that's about to get closed down was Nick Aitken. Now, in real life,
Quality.
he'd be a great member to be behind in a breakaway at 192 centimeters tall.
Well,
His avatar's almost coming through the screen.
it depends on how tall you are. Because if Caleb Ewan was sitting behind him, Nick would be too tall for Caleb, because Caleb wouldn't come up to his hips and the draft would be going through Nick's legs, and it would make it difficult for Caleb to get any sit whatsoever. But I stand at 190 centimeters, so Nick's my man. He's the guy I'd like to sit behind, if only I was capable of doing
it. Yeah, it's probably how Caleb feels behind Roger Kluger. But
yeah.
Look, it's all back together. We've had it closed down by an Italian, A. Burra. This might be Alexander Burra, but yeah, look, it's all come back together.
Angelo Burra, who rides in the Masters category, but his 20-minute power is at 5.7 watts per kilo, the second biggest within the race. That is impressive.
405 watts for 20 minutes. That is insane numbers. And yeah,
big. What I've been really impressed, I've been impressed by how aggressive this race has been, Jethro. When we spoke about the course, Legends and the lava going up to that climb, I thought that there'd be a lot of riders really patient, just sitting the wheels, hoping to get to the base of that climb. But this has been on from the gun.
Yeah, it certainly has. And with this awesome view with the peloton here, and I wonder if anyone else is picking this up at home, I'm looking at the bike choices, and now outside of the Tron bike, which is just a sea of neon, 5Ks to the climb, by the way, I'm looking at a few bike choices who have gone with a climbing setup. And the guy on the front here, N. Campbell, I'll just find his first name, but he is operating with a light bike. It could be the Specialized Tarmac. So there's a few out there that have prioritized a lightweight bike for that finish.
For that decision making, I want to see what Nick Scolari is on. Nick Velo Kicks. Nick Scolari, who is very good time trialist, who pays great attention to detail, and looks like Nick is on the Tron bike, is he? So that would be my choice. I'd do whatever Nick does when it comes to equipment choice in an event like this one.
Yep, absolutely. And I'm sure Nick's other half will be watching with great content here, because last week she was tuning in, just recovering from COVID as well. So this proved a bit of entertainment for her to watch Nick ching away. But yeah, of course, the Aero Master, we know. It looks like he's operating on that Tron, but I wonder, will we see a rim brake tarmac, Matt, just come over the line first? But yeah, we've got
who was
Jeff
the South African. Yeah,
yes,
go.
Jeff is he's actually from WA, where I hail from. We also ride in we used to ride in a bunch ride in the north of Perth, one of which that Jai Hindley would often attend when he'd come back to Perth in the summertime. It's called the JCC Bunch Ride. And Jeffrey, as we can see there, South African national champ on Zwift, he is a very strong ruler. And I guess you would maybe put him in the Mickey Shah category of type of
Plenty
rider.
Good bike riders to come out of South Africa. The first South African to win a stage in the Tour de France was Robbie Hunter. And then Chris Froome, hailing from Africa, raised in Kenya, a lot of his time in South Africa as well. He's been somewhat claimed. And Daryl Impey as well, one of the other stars to come out of South Africa.
Yep. Oh, there's some really quality bike riders as well. Louis Menchie's as well. And how about Evans?
Big move. Evans. I like that Evans has attacked Jethro. I like that Evans has attacked against Cadell.
Yes, and we're seeing actually someone, who is this? This is T. Burface coming over the top. Riley as well is trying to get into the wheel. Evans stepping on the pedals, just getting over the top as well. This has really just caused a bit of a surge, and I did note this little spiky bit coming off the bridge on the reverse sprint as a potential for an attack. I just forgot to mention it earlier, but this has been used as a launch pad. Riley settling into 4.5 watts per kilo with Evans, Burfus, and looks like Zimue is also from the Sparrows trying to get on terms. But have a look at the splits, +1, +2, +3 seconds. This has really split up the bunch, Matt.
Oh, this is really impressive, and these are big numbers. John O'Cridlin, before, he was getting a little chirpy with Evans, and I quite liked it, reminding him that there's no intermediate sprint. I think Evans has got a game plan of his own, and now it's execution time, and he's executing the rest of the race. This is really strong. If we had the red number to award the most combative or the most aggressive throughout the race, Evans, hands down, he's got my red number.
Yep, absolutely. And that could be, I might have to put in a feature request for Zwift for that, because that is a terrific idea. And the bunch looks like they're going to swallow him up again, but I think Evans is really, I think he's got what he's wanted. He certainly has shelled more competitors out the back. You can see in the map there, you can see there's little blobs of red. Those riders have been distanced, and the bunch, bit by bit, is getting smaller. But Matt, we are not far away, Keno, of them hitting the base of the climb, which is at 20.4 kilometers to go. They're going to enter the lava, but will there be one legend?
So at this point, have a little zip of water. This is one of the rare last times where you can have a little bit to drink. Not that the race is long enough that you need a lot of water, but just to wet the mouth, keep a few fluids in there, make sure that you're not dehydrating. I hope everybody's got the fan working on overdrive, because once they hit the base of this climb and they're less than 2 kilometers from getting there, it is all guns a blazing.
Yep, absolutely. We've got cries for Frodo from A Chubb, getting Lord of the Ring vibes from this course. And of course, it does look a little bit like Mordor. Perhaps we need a New Zealand course on Zwift, just saying HQ. But we've got Cadell Howie, who's trying to get a bit of separation, surprisingly, as one of the lightest riders in this peloton. At the base, they haven't hit the gradients yet, Matt. I think perhaps too early. We're seeing Sherwin. Look at him. He's on a lightweight setup. Those look like the MV 2.1s on the tarmac. These guys want to climb.
Yeah, Cadell is still a junior. He's just 53 kilograms. He stands at 175 centimetres. His numbers actually, in that regard, aren't too dissimilar to Cadell Evans himself. And I like that he has gone early. That's a good problem to have with a junior, rather than trying to encourage a junior to be aggressive. He's now been absorbed by what's left of the peloton, as we're still seeing Matt Sherwin just slightly off the front. So far, Evans has got his witch. He's reduced this peloton, but has he got enough bullets left to finish it off at the top of the volcano? That's the big question.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're about to come out of the inside of the volcano and hit, I guess, where the climb feels like it starts not too long from now. And we mentioned everyone back home. Yes, this finishes on the Volcano KOM, but the first 2Ks of it, from 20 to about 22 kilometers to go, or kilometers spent, it is very draftable. It's 2, 3, 4%. So like Sherwin here on the box section, climbing wheels, he's not really getting the full benefit. You want to be on an aero setup basically until 250 meters to go. And that
he's
is
doing
when
50k an hour.
see.
Yeah, he's doing 50 kilometres
moving
per hour there on his own. So huge benefit of being within that main peloton. And we're seeing Angelo Barra once again. He's responding a little bit. And I like this from Cadell Howie. Should not have done that. Cadell, keep doing what you're doing. It's working. And you'll learn every single time you pin a number on, whether it's in the real world or whether it's online on Zwift. The attitude is sensational, Cadell.
That's right. And we've got Barra from the Italian Team Italy is actually off the front, and he's trying to hit the climb with a little bit of a lead, and Michael Gallagher has now stepped on the pedals. This is where we're going to see the peloton string out, and I think Cridlin's there. Josh Hunt is also in the mix. Remember those guys who can climb a little bit lighter, and they've got a punch. But at the moment, we have Gallagher out front, the Italian, Barra, Riley in third spot, but Gallagher is holding 7 watts per kilo. This is about a 5 or 6 minute climb for these guys, Matt, and we're already seeing the peloton change shape from that blob to now, well, in one line.
And Mick Gallagher, he's pushing out some huge numbers, 7 watts per kilo, heart rate up to 183. For the rest of the races, we're seeing Hunt make his way through towards the front.
Oh, yeah.
He's on the hunt, and he has hit the front. But the fact that John O'Cridlin's been quiet for the last 5 minutes would make me a little nervous. Is he ready to make a move?
Yes, I think so. And like I said, Jeffrey Hunt's one of those guys I thought was going to do very well today. High watts per kilo, high enough, a little bit lighter, still has a punch. Gallagher's going to get in the wheel now and hopefully use his watts per kilo, use his Zwift now to just drop the pace a bit, get a little bit of a draft. But no, he's pushing on,
No.
still holding 7 watts per kilo. This is insane. But the bunch, look at the draft. There's numbers back there. Guys that are only touching 5.8, 6 watts per kilo, about 10 wheels back, 22 Ks in. This is where it flattens out for a period of about 300 or 400 meters. Then it goes up again, like we're seeing just now. This is where we see a bit of a slingshot, and there's going to be riders moving forward who are going to come out of that bunch, Matt. The winner, I think, is in that blob that we see around 10th to 15th wheel.
And Roberts moving up in the second spot. Riley and Barra closing down, a select group of 4, just a second off the front of the rest of the peloton. But now this is that moment that you spoke about. It goes downhill, not for very long.
Mm-hmm.
It's 48 kilometers per hour, reminiscent of what you see on a lot of climbs, particularly in the Pyrenees, where they're inconsistent. It's staircases up, a little bit of rest, a little bit of a dip, and start climbing again. And it's about to return to the positives percentage and heading uphill.
Oh, yeah, it's starting to heat up. Here's the flat section now. They're going to go through the volcano. This is a chance for the riders to catch their breath. And you can see on the right-hand side, they are, with relative to the start of that climb, with around 3.5 watts per kilo. So they're now waiting for that next step in the staircase. Josh Haggerty's there. He's been a podium. You've seen Sherman's been active. Evans is still there despite energy spent early. Who else? A Chubb, he's been throwing down in the chat. Has he got a bullet to spend? There's plenty left.
Mashed potato.
Mashed potato has made it.
Mashed potato. It's almost dinner time in Melbourne. I know that you're a couple of hours behind us in Perth there, Jethro, but in Melbourne, It is 7 o'clock local time. Mashed potato. My mouth is watering. It's not far from dinner, and I've spotted him for the first time. As again, it's Gallagher who goes.
That's right. Gallagher's out there. It is a big, big move. 8 watts per kilo, a second kick. Who can respond to this? Because now he has a bit of a gap. We are now down to the final kilometre. We can see the little finish line arc just in the distance in the map. Sherwin's behind, Riley, Beck, Bousted, Roberts. But remember, the last 250 metres is the key here. But at the moment, Gallagher needs to be closed down. And it doesn't seem like anyone, Matt, wants to launch from that bunch just yet.
Not just yet, but Gallagher, he's a really good individual time trialist, fantastic in the individual pursuit on the track. He knows what he can hold and how long he can hold it for. He's not a super sprinter, but that's why he is going early. His heart rate is through the roof. Too many late nights, Jono. Now Jono's getting heckled. Nice work, Trent. But Mickey Gallagher at 190 beats per minute, and he's been here for a minute and a half at least. This is a huge tilt to try and take the win.
Yeah, he's going for it, Matt. And like I said earlier, I alluded to this. I think this was what's going to happen with the bike race finish. Someone out front early is going to be taken over late. We've got Bousted, second in the Anzac Day Classic. He's moving up. Roberts, Twan, Riley. There's a little group of 6 here. Now drafting is back in play with around 3%. There's not long to go, 500 metres, but I'm still looking at some of the guys in the bunch here. Haggerty's there. The bunch is just starting to blow back up, and this has now become, I think, a bit of a puncher's game. There's 500 metres to go, still 4%. Anyone can win this
Boasted
right now.
Boasted has got himself in a good position. So too has Marwood. Marwood spent a few biscuits as Roberts has now got his nose in front. Barrett is there. Timing is going to be crucial. There's about 10, perhaps 12 who are still in contention. Drafting power-ups being used. Wouldn't you love a feather at this stage?
Someone has certainly got a feather, but this aero power-up usage here from the Italian Barra is very well timed. With only about 100 metres to go, he's ramping up the steepest part of the climb, and I think Barra has used his power-up to the key. Yuan behind, Haggerty's trying to use it as well. There's gaps. It's going to be Barra, the Italian, Chuan second place, and Haggerty looks like he's going to come over the line in third place. And we've seen the Italian just 2 days out, Matt, 24 hours out from the Grand Partenza Giro d'Italia, doing it for Italy as the women are on
Perfect timing. Perfect. It's Angelo, the angel of the volcano. What a brilliant climber. Back, and you'll be pleased with the women as your pick, and this was well before the race got underway, Catherine Ellie is in the mix.
Mm.
She's right up at the front of the race, and there's not many surviving with her, Jethro.
Yeah, that's right. We're down to 6 riders there on the volcano. Now, what I analysed from the men's sprint and the men's finish of that race, I think everyone was waiting for that final 100 metres where Barra, the angel of the volcano, went on the flatter section with 300 to go and used his aero booster at about, 300 to go on that flat section, getting the gap before it really ramped up. Now, I wonder, will we see a bit of that with the women? Because at the moment, I don't think any of their power-ups are being used. We've got Bemrose there as well, who's been up there one last week. So it's going to be very interesting from a group of 6. And Matt, I have to say, I've just looked here. Kate Spicy, one of the animators of every week so far, is back 4 seconds behind, trying to get back on terms.
Oh, that's going to be difficult from there. Norden from Sweden, she sits in second position. She was aggressive early on, just biding her time perhaps for the next little while, and then to launch another big move. We've seen Bemrose, who's been really good for the first 2 weeks. She's out of contention for the first time in a while. Spicy, that 4-second gap. It looks small, right? 4 seconds, but it's not when you're chasing. 4 seconds is huge.
Yeah, it really is. And she's not giving up. She's still holding her Watopia. You can see when you get dropped, sometimes you do just cue the rack and just let the power off. But she is still trying to get back on terms. She would know that does flatten out in the section here. That's right. Great courage indeed. And this front group, this is the chance now when the pace drops, 3.5 watts per kilo there on the in the leaderboard. This is Kate's chance, but the gap is going up. And I think this front group know, particularly Jessica Bemrose, she will know that having Kate 4 seconds back, well, that's a plus. She's going to ride.
Yeah, Norden at the front, followed by Davis and Nash, and then Ali. It's a strong group out in front. Not too many left in contention. This has been a pretty good race, the women's race. We've focused mainly on the men's race because of the larger group within that field, and they got to the finish line first. But hopefully next week you go in that same pattern of getting even more women racing. So if you're watching and you've got the setup, doesn't matter what grade you ride, participate, be part of it, the AusCycling Esports series, and it's about flying the flag for your club and getting some points for them as well.
Yep, absolutely. You said it, Matt. And speaking of points, now, is SXCC, is that St Kilda Cycling Club?
Not sure because I don't know.
If it is, there's 2 in this front group. So a chance for them to get off the bottom of the ladder, Matt, in the club standings.
Good work.
As we've seen, Clara Nash from the Rave team just start to lead the climb, and have a look at the power outputs. They're rolling on 5.5 watts per kilo. That is very good power output on this section. There is drafting. Who can get it right doing the least amount to stay with the group? It's very, very intriguing. Gabriella Norden from, the Scandinavian. A bit of a dark horse here today.
Well, she's been pretty strong so far. This is the first time I've had a chance to take a look at her race and what we've seen today, and it's been impressive. We're on board with her now. We can see her heart rate at 177. Obviously, she's a little bit older than Cadella Howie, who got the numbers up towards 200. But I think there's still a bit of room to move for Norden, and she's got enough left to put the rest of this group under pressure, which is she's kind of doing at the moment. Now she gets herself back towards the slipstream. She's riding pretty smartly.
Yeah, she is. She happens to be the lightest rider in this group by a country mile, around 46 kilos, riding for the Sox for Watts team as well. So she'll certainly want that steeper bit at the end to come sooner rather than later. There's not far to go, everyone. About 800 metres, and everybody at the moment, I think, is playing their cards as close to the chest as they can, Matt, at 108 beats per minute. But I think Catherine Ellie, I think she's got this one. With her sprint. It's just going to come down to timing, and I'm just watching here now. Catherine Ellie there, sitting at the back. Now she's moving forward. It's a bit of a game here with the positioning. 500 metres to go.
Well, you've been on board since before the race got underway, so you can't swap horses now. You stick with Catherine Ellie, and I'm going to stick with the Swede, Gabriella Norden, because I love the name, Socks for Watts. It reminds me of the Bobby Julich podcast, Put Your Socks On. She's got her socks on, and they are legal UCI height. They're not up to her knees, and they're quick so far today. She's sitting well-placed, Norden, in 4th or 5th position. She's just waiting to pounce.
Yeah, that's right. A chance again, like we mentioned. St Kilda Cycling Club, I think, have two in this group. Dayla Davidson looking to get some points for her club today. A lot of nice looking jerseys as well in this bunch as we're zooming in. Not long to go. They're wheeling around about 100 Ks to go. And look at this. We've seen the feather from Dayla Davidson. She has thrown down the feather early at only 4%. Who's in the wheel? Jessica Benrose. Can she use her feather power up? She's got a little bit of draft now. Her timing looks good. Nash is behind, 10 watts per kilo. Kong coming late. Who's going to be out of these four? Benrose has used her feather. That is a long feather. It must be from a pelican because she has come across the line and gone back to back with a victory from Kong to back. Nash in third place. Benrose played it to a tee, used her feather. Well, she held that one back really nicely, Matt. And Dayla Davidson launched first using her feather power up. But Benrose again. We're going to see a replay, Matt.
That was timing. You're right. All about timing. Jessica Benrose, I hardly noticed her throughout the race, which is a credit to her because she did not waste a single kilojoule throughout that 37 minutes or so of racing. That was really clever. And talk about being experienced on this platform. How well did she time the use of her power up? That was to perfection.
Yeah, it was. Look at that. They're stepping on 10 watts per kilo in this final sprint as it kicked up. You can see now Jessica Benrose using her feather power up. Now she's getting the draft, a little bit of draft as well. And she's on the pedals here at 10 watts per kilo. Nash doesn't have the feather, neither does Kong. And this is the moment. She just doesn't give up here and keeps pushing despite Kong and Nash basically putting out the same power. And the timing of the power up and another win for Benrose. Amazing.
They do say life is all about timing, and she's got her timing dialed in for this series, the AusCycling Esports Club Series, and it's working out pretty well for her. And that was a really entertaining race with coming down towards that group. And we spoke about her 20-minute power throughout the race, and there was a few in there that had slightly higher 20-minute power than Jessica Benrose. So she played a smart game. She played conservative.
That's right. Yeah, we're going to see the results as well, just to get that podium for the AusCycling Esports Club Series in the men's. We're looking at Joshua Haggerty, podium again, Chuan, and the angel of the volcano, Matt, Angelo Barra, the Italian, taking out the victory with that perfectly timed aero power-up.
And he was strong during the race as well. He didn't just leave it all for the volcano. He was pretty active throughout the race. Not quite as aggressive as Evans, but Angelo, the angel of the volcano, was brilliant today. And I really liked the way he went about it. And nice to see, as you mentioned before, with the Giro d'Italia getting underway tomorrow, Friday, even though it's in Hungary, nice to see an Italian win here at the AusCycling Esports Series.
Yeah, absolutely. It is fitting. We're going to see the women's results now, and we'll step you through them. In third place, Clara Nash, a great race from her. And then we have, of course, Kong in second place, and Jessica Benrose yet again backing up her ride, showing everyone, Matt, that she is the force of the A-grade peloton here in the women's, and really the one to watch, whether it goes uphill or on a sprint finish.
Yeah, she was outstanding. And I was on board with Gabriella Norden throughout the race because of her strength and her climbing numbers. But Jessica Benrose, she outsmarted everybody today. So full credit to her. And that's one of the great things that I love about cycling in particular, is it's not necessarily the absolutely strongest athlete that wins. It's the one who is pretty close to being one of the strongest, but is also super smart. And she had bike IQ today.
Yeah, she certainly did. She certainly did, man. And I guess looking back at the two races we had today, there were lots of attacks, a lot of aggression coming out of both bunches, using the course, I guess, to their advantage and the risers. But in the end, it came down to not only saving your power, but using your power ups at the right moment. Angelo
Mm.
Barra used that aero power up perfectly to get away from the bunch, get separation before the steep section of the climb, and his gap just couldn't be closed. And then, of course, in the women's, the feather, the pelican feather, the toucan feather, maybe the peacock feather.
It
Jessica
was a big one.
Benrose. It felt like it was a double feather. It was great and a great victory.
It was huge. I'm looking at what's still to come, and there's still 3 more races to come. So it's just halfway through the AusCycling Esports series. Next week, it's Watopia Beach Island Loop, 2 laps of that. The following week, that is crunch time. That is the Bologna time trial. That is really tough, 24 kilometres. And rounding it out on the 26th of May, Makuri Island with the electric loop, 3 laps. I've done that one in the past, and I quite like it. That'll be a good one. I think I'm joining you for that final one.
I believe so. That's right. I really look forward to that one. I actually look forward to the Bologna TT because it really is a question of pacing, being flat in that first sort of 3K, and then the second half. Wow, that's dropping your mashed potato on the floor. That's disgusting. The second half, that's for sure. But Matt, it was a pleasure calling again with you. We saw some really exciting racing. Happy for both of us to see a few hills as well.
Yeah.
And everyone, thank you for watching. We'll be back next week for round 5 of the AusCycling Esports Club Series.
Round 4.
Round 4. See you at the beach.
Right on.